Good morning and Erev Chag HaShavuot Sameach to everyone. Tonight is Shavuot, and we're holding by the fifth reading of parashat Naso. And today we come to a certain crescendo in our understanding of the carrying of opposites. Today's reading we start what is known as the offerings brought by each of they're called Nasi'im, which literally means like a prince or a king of each of the tribes. So altogether 12 offerings were brought. And we mentioned when we started this parashah that this is the part of the parashah that everybody gets a little tired with, because it is repetitive. Each one of the princes of the Nasi'im brought exactly the same offering. It had many parts to it, and each one was exactly the same. So one would think that the Torah would just tell us, and the 12 princes brought each this offering, and tell us one time the offering. But instead, the Torah takes up many verses, multiplies it by 12. I think in each one there's 6 verses, and multiplied by 12 is 72 verses, to say something it could have said in a few verses. So we have two important aspects of carrying opposites here. The first one ties back to what we saw yesterday. A Nasi, a king of a tribe, is named for the same principle of being able to carry opposites. The true leader is not one who, like we said yesterday, cancels the extremes, who cancels the outliers. On the contrary, the true leader is somebody who finds a way to bring everyone into play, who gives everyone a way to contribute to the needs of the many, to the public, to everything that we do together. The true leader is someone who has a way to speak with both extremes. It could be the extreme on the right and could be extreme on the left, and he finds a way to their heart and finds a way to include them. So that's the first thing that we notice, that the names of the leaders of the tribes, the kings of the tribes, was the title that they received is a Nasi. Later on we learn in the Torah, actually mostly in the book of Kings, that Nasi literally means a king. It's one of the 13 different synonyms for king in Hebrew. So that's the first point that we want to bring up. The second point is even stronger in a certain sense. We mentioned that all the princes, all the kings brought the same offering, exactly the same offering. So why does the Torah have to repeat it? It becomes boring after the second one. The answer that's given in the Medrash, and there's a lot of Medrash on this parashah, is that each one of the kings, even though he brought the same offering, had completely different intentions in mind. He was thinking of something else. And the Medrash goes into detail about how each of the elements in the offering meant something else for each one of the kings based on the tribe that he was from. We won't have time to go over this today, but we'll try to do it next week. We'll take a look at a few of these and see how interestingly the Medrash brings out these different intentions. Intention in Hebrew is a kavanah. It's what I intend when I do something. One of the important things taught by the Ba'al Shem Tov, because we said that the Ba'al Shem Tov was the one whose cutting edge way of learning Torah was to look at everything in terms of paradoxes, in terms of how the heart can carry paradoxes. And in this regard, we said that there's something called the wisdom of the heart, chokhmat lev. And this is based on a verse in Mishlei, a verse in Proverbs, that says, Chacham lev yikach mitzvot. The man who has a wise heart will take mitzvot, in the plural, commandments. Says the Ba'al Shem Tov, what this means is that in every mitzvah we actually have 2 mitzvot. Each one of the mitzvot that we take is actually 2 mitzvot. How is it 2? There is the act and there is the intention. In previous generations, there were also people who had something in mind when they did something. But it's important to know, and maybe we've mentioned this in these short classes, short pieces, that when it comes to the action, that is what the Torah really looks at. That's what it means that the action is the primary thing. Hamaiseh hua ikar. What it really means is that it doesn't matter what your intent was. As long as you meant to do the mitzvah, it doesn't matter if, for instance, you're like Moshe Rabbeinu who knows, Moses who knows all the different secrets of tefillin, or whether you're a simple person like us, that you just put on tefillin without understanding fully what it means, but you mean to do the mitzvah. The Torah says, Hamaiseh hua ikar, which means that in the end, Moshe Rabbeinu's mitzvah and our mitzvah is exactly the same thing as far as the principle that action is the primary thing. In the end, we both perform the mitzvah, and it doesn't matter in that respect what we had in mind. However, the Ba'al Shem Tov says, and what he's saying is, that as the generations move on, this is actually a demand that comes from us to deepen our understanding of what we're doing. And so says the Ba'al Shem Tov, in our generation we have to realize that every mitzvah actually contains two mitzvot. The action, which you learn from halakha, how to do, and then the intent, which you learn from the inner dimension of Torah, of what this means. But, like we see here by the kings who brought the same offering, the intent is different for each individual. Every individual has a different understanding of what they're doing. And in fact, they may even have a different set of beliefs about what they're doing. Meaning it could be that one believes that the tefillin represent something that was in the past, that was a way to mark someone who was a slave, and we're marking ourselves and saying that we're slaves to God. Another person may understand that what the tefillin do, based on their name, is they facilitate being able to pray. Prayer is called tefillah, and tefillin are like boxes that are like a jump starting the prayer. And there could be 1,000,001 different explanations of about what this is. Every person will find their different explanation. What does this mean? What does this mean? Well, if this is true, then basically we have two different aspects to every mitzvah. We said the action and the intent. The intent is the light of the mitzvah. The action is the vessel of the mitzvah. So there are two different aspects, the vessel and the light which we put into it. The vessel is the same for everyone. The word for vessel in Hebrew is kli, and kli literally is almost the same word as klal. Klal means the general, the public. The kli, the vessel, the klal, is the same for everyone. The kli is the same for all the people in the world. We perform the mitzvah the same way. However, the light is different for each individual. The light is something personal, and that is what we call prat and klal, the individual and the communal. The individual is always different, and the individual is tasked in our generation, says the Ba'al Shem Tov, with bringing their specific, unique understanding of the mitzvah into the communal vessel, which is the performance of the mitzvah, which is the same for everyone. So what do we have here? We have that in every mitzvah there are opposites, a paradox, because one is in general and the other is particular. The act of the mitzvah, the halacha, the kli, is always the same. And so we have something that's always equal. And yet, within that thing that's always equal, at the same time, simultaneously, we also have the unique light that every individual adds into this mitzvah. So here too we have this idea that the point is to carry opposites, the communal and the individual, within every mitzvah that we do. And again, the verse that the Ba'al Shem Tov taught alludes to this is the wise man will take mitzvot, will take 2 mitzvot. 2 is the minimum of plural. Whenever you say something is plural, so the minimum is that there's 2 of them. So there are 2 mitzvot in each mitzvah that you do. And that is the carrying of apatir. But if you remember when we started this week, we said that in parashat Naso, where we're talking about all these aspects of carrying opposites, the word Naso, the 3-letter root, Naso, Nun, Shin, Aleph, in this case, Nun, Sin, Aleph, appears exactly 32 times. And we said this is called the wisdom of the heart, Chochmat Lev. This is exactly the same phrase as this verse that the Ba'al Shem Tov chose to allude to this idea of carrying opposites, the communal and the individual within every act, within every mitzvah. Chacham Lev, the man who has a wise heart. So I'm sorry, I hope that it came out because my phone turned off in the middle. So Chag Sameach to everyone.